My countrymen, this is Eli Velislao Pamatong, President of the Republic of the Philippines. And tonight, once again, I have come to you to share with you matters that are of paramount importance to the Filipino people and to a certain extent, the world community. This afternoon, I wrote a letter to the Pope and the President of Vatican City, and the King of Spain, Carlos Philip VI, of Spain. In that letter, I was asking for a remuneration of 350 trillion US dollars for the 333 years of slavery and oppression of the Filipino people, and all the abuses they have committed up to the present, especially the Catholic Church. Because after 333 years, Spain turned us over to the United States, but the Catholic Church continued to oppress the Filipino people and make the Filipino people believe in a Bible that turned out to be satanic and the most satanic Bible ever written in the history of mankind. But before I proceed to discuss the letter that I wrote to King Philip VI and the Pope Francis of the Vatican City, let me talk about what disturbed me this afternoon when I was thinking about what to tell you tonight. I saw in the social media a bomb published by Russia, the biggest bomb ever made, more powerful than all the bombs in the United States of America. I mean, the most powerful nuclear bomb in America. This is the Char bomb. Char bomba, which is, I think, 15 million tons of TNT. Very powerful. To understand how powerful is this Char bomb of Russia, let me talk to you about Satan II, another bomb in Russia. This bomb in Russia, Satan II, is 400 times more powerful than the bombs dropped by the United States on April 6, 1945 over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing more than 150,000 people instantly. So this is 400 times more powerful than what was dropped by the B-29 bomber over Nagasaki and Hiroshima on April 6, 1945. 200 times. If you drop this bomb over Mindanao, Mindanao can melt in a few seconds or in a few minutes. It can destroy Mindanao. It can destroy Luzon. This is how powerful Satan II is. Satan II. I don't know why they called it Satan II. And if Satan II is very powerful, this is many times more powerful. Probably 1,000 times more powerful than the bombs dropped by the United States on April 6, 1945 over Nagasaki and Hiroshima. This was the man that piloted the bombs that dropped at Hiroshima. I think his name is Paul Tibbets. He was the one who piloted this plane. Enola Gay. Enola Gay was the name of the plane that dropped the bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. using V-29. And this was the bomb. It's a crude bomb, but it destroyed instantly 150,000 people, and maybe close to or more than 1 million after that. The other image of that bomb is this one. It mushroomed into the sky and would be heard many miles away. The effect of the char bomba can also be felt, could be felt about 100 miles away from the point of impact. And this was Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They look like this instantly. Not a single building stood after it was dropped on April 6, 1945, forcing Japan to surrender. That is the state of the world today. We are in possession of a bomb that can destroy the world 20 times over. 20 times over. All the bombs combined, from Russia to America to China, if they are exploded at the same time, it can destroy the whole world 20 times over. And that is how powerful it is. And so I've been trying my very best to assume full-fledged presidency of the Philippines, because I have a dream that given the chance to rise to the fullest height of power, to the highest point of power in the Philippines, I believe that I can convince the 340 nations, more than 340 nations of the world, to unite and demand the dismantling of all nuclear bombs throughout the world and allow the humanity to live anew without those bombs, to live in love, to live in peace, and pursue our struggle for eternity, for immortality. These bombs cannot make us immortal. It can kill all of us. That is why I am so eager to become full-fledged president of the Philippines, because I know that compared to the past president of the Philippines and to all the congressmen and to all the senators in the Senate, I have a dream, more than them, to promote world peace should I be given a chance to rise to the fullest amount of power, to the highest point of power, and lead this country. And I know that with the gift that God has given me, I can convince the leaders of more than 340 nations and the leaders of more than 100 nations of the United Nations to unite and save the world from nuclear bombs. Our problem in the world is disunity. We have never been united. That was the same problem that the Philippines had. But again, I hope you will support me in my desire to become full-fledged president of the Philippines and take care of the Philippines. What we have is a president who for 4 years have been taking care of himself. I want to take care of the whole Filipino nation, not myself. But this president we have is only taking care of himself because he's dying himself. At the same time, the whole country is dying, tortured by coronavirus, infected by coronavirus. The whole nation is dying. But the president is also dying and does not have time to save the Philippines. So I hope you will give me the chance to rise to the fullest, I would say to the highest point of power, to the apex or summit of power, and lead this country, as well as the world, to a point where we can be united, we can live together in peace, and engage in a common struggle to dominate the universe if possible. Now let me go back to what I want to talk about. The demand that I made to the Pope for an apology and damages in the amount of 350 trillion US dollars. 350 trillion US dollars for 333 years of slavery and oppression by Spain and 455 years of brainwashing the Filipinos using the Satanic Bible. I wrote this letter this afternoon. No single president in the Philippines in the past has written this letter to demand for compensation for the damage inflicted upon the Filipino people by Spain, by the Vatican City. None of them thought about it. And when I realized that the Filipino people have been tortured by the satanic teachings of the Bible for the last 333 years, or for the last 455 years, I thought the most decent thing I could do is to demand for an amount that can be used to rehabilitate the Filipino people from the immoralities brought about by the Bible. Let me go back for a while to the Philippines of days gone by. This was the Philippines of days gone by. Very simple life. Not as sophisticated as the life of the people in the West, but they were not corrupt. The Filipinos were not corrupt. They were not corrupt. They lived a life so simple, but they could not ask for more because it was so simple and so beautiful. This was the common transportation that we had, the Moro Vinta, all over the Philippines. And again, it was so simple. They had their martial arts too at that time, like the karate in Japan. They had the Kuntao in the Moroland. It was the best. This was the best martial arts in Asia, but it was not promoted by the Americans nor by the Spaniards. Kuntao, you who are listening to me from the Moroland know what Kuntao is. It is the most powerful martial art in the world, more powerful than karate. And given a chance to rise to the highest point of power, I'll revive Kuntao and teach every Filipino to be an expert in Kuntao martial art. There was also that beautiful culture of unity. We help each other in transferring our houses from one point to another. This is preserved up to this point, but during the olden times, this was a very common practice for the whole community to help each other. Although again, as what I have mentioned in the past, the problem with the whole Philippines was that we were disunited. That's why when the Spaniards came in 1521, more particularly when the Spaniards colonized the Philippines in 1565, by Legazpi. Under Legazpi was the Viceroy of Spain, governing through Mexico. It was easy for him to conquer the Filipinos. Very easy. Why? Because according to the observations of the Western people or writers, we were disunited. We were disunited. We never cooperated with each other. Had we cooperated, there would not have been any Chinese or Spanish or I would say European allowed to step into our country, into our homeland. But they were not united. When Magellan went to Cebu, King Humabon of Cebu, well, he became a friend of the foreigners. He had a blood compact with Magellan, and in fact, he was baptized as a Christian by the priest who was in the company of Magellan, and his name was changed to Don Carlos, King Humabon. Just look at his face. You cannot trust this face, I think. This is the face of a traitor. And so, of course, he was against Lapu-Lapu, Dato Lapu-Lapu of Mactan. And this is the face of Sultan Kudarat, the unconquerable Sultan Kudarat of Mindanao. For many, many years, Mindanao was independent and could not be penetrated by the Spaniards because Sultan Kudarat never allowed them to step on the shores of Mindanao. Sultan Kudarat. And we have here Lapu-Lapu, the first national hero who killed Magellan at the Battle of Mactan and never allowed foreigners to step alive on Philippine soil. And to me, is one of the greatest Filipino heroes. We also have here Sulaiman, Raha Sulaiman. Raha Sulaiman. He was the Raha of Manila, but he succumbed to the Spanish Imperial Army, Royal Army. And he cooperated with the Raha Sulaiman. And then lastly, we have Francisco Sandrijas. Francisco Sandrijas is well known as Francisco de Gojoy of Bohol. He led the longest revolt against the Spaniards in the Philippines. 85 solid years. He ruled Bohol with his army, starting from 2,000 to 20,000. And he established the first Republic of Bohol. The first Republic of Bohol was organized by Francisco Sandrijas, otherwise known as Francisco de Gojoy. The problem with our leaders was that they were not united. They were dealing with these foreigners on their own. There was no unity. Had there been a united front against the foreigners, there would have been no foreigner in this country. There would not have been any foreigner in this country. And so because of the disunity, the Spaniards was able to come and easily conquer us. It was very easy. The Filipinos submitted to the foreign rule without much, I would say, bloodshed, without much resistance, except in Mindanao, in Bohol, and in Mactan. But in other places in the Philippines, it was very easy for the Spaniards to govern the Filipino people or to bring them under their sovereignty or under their monarchical power. This was the king of Spain. At the time, Spain was one of the most powerful nations of the world. It was King Philip II. He was sick of syphilis, and I think he died of venereal disease, of gonorrhea. But at the back of being a gonorrheal or being sick, he was very, very powerful. King Philip II. What we have now is King Philip VI. He has a long name actually, but in English he is known as King Philip VI. What attracted, and I mentioned this in my previous recording, the foreigners into the Philippines was this one. Chile, the humble Chile. Because this Chile, without this Chile, the Europeans would not come to the Philippines. The Europeans would not come to the Philippines without this Chile. They used this as preservative. And next to Chile, of course, they were looking for gold. But the Spaniards, unfortunately, after 333 years of colonization or occupation of the Philippines, they never found gold. It was the Americans that found gold. And the Americans took all our gold to Fort Knox at Kentucky. All the gold from the Benguet mines, Pangalatok mines, from the Baguio mines. They are now resting in peace at Fort Knox. The biggest gold deposit of the United States are from the Philippines. And that I would like to take back, given a chance to rise to power in the Philippines, to have full-fledged power in the Philippines as president. Yes, that attracted the Europeans. Spices, the Chile, and gold. And they came here in 1521. I think that was March 16. One of the other developments in the Philippines that should not be forgotten was that we were trained to use barong, which is patterned after the costume in Mexico. You see, as I mentioned, we were governed by the Spaniards through a viceroy based in Mexico for 350 years. I mean, 333 years. And the barong there was used here. It's not a Filipino costume. It came from Mexico. You know, during the olden times, during the monarchical times, during the time of the monarchy, the poor people were not allowed to tuck in their clothes. Only the rich people can do that. No tuck in. You have to hang your, I would say, shirt. You cannot tuck it in. And so the Mexicans and the Filipinos develop a style to make it look good. They develop the barong. You cannot tuck it in, but it looks good. That is the origin of the barong. It comes from Mexico, and it was also developed in the Philippines. And after that, of course, the Filipinos were wearing Americanas and barongs at the same time. You can see the influence of the Spaniards and the influence of the Americans. They were wearing Americanas or jackets, American jackets over the barong. This was the simple life under before the Spaniards came to the Philippines. I have to tell you that because I want to give you a background. I just don't want to talk and talk without showing you some photos of what happened. Because most of you listening to me tonight are young. Or even if you are young, you are too busy trying to raise your children and you don't have time to read. And so I'm taking advantage of this time, of the Facebook, of the social media, to share with you whatever information which I honestly think can help you in understanding what's going on in the world, because what happened yesterday has an impact today, and what is going on today can give us a forecast of what is going to happen in the future. To understand the present, you have to look back at the past and understand the past. The only way to understand the present is to know the past. And the only way to have a forecast on the future is to understand the present. So I'm trying to share with you whatever knowledge I have from politics to religion, so that I could help you in understanding what's going on and in trying to make a forecast on what's going to happen, especially with respect to nuclear bombs that can wipe out the rest of humanity and the rest of humanity. That's the reason. And now let me talk specifically of the 350 trillion claim that I filed with Spain, with the King of Spain and the Pope, who is the President of Vatican City at the same time. The Vatican City is an independent country. I think consisting of 44 hectares. But it is a very powerful country ruled by the Pope. And that is also a theocratic country, again ruled by the Pope. So we are dealing with two sovereignties. The sovereign government of Vatican City and the sovereign government of Spain. And I am holding them jointly responsible for the damage irreparably inflicted upon the Filipino people for 333 years during the Spaniards and for 455 years under the Catholics, because the Catholics are still here. Now, why am I asking for this huge amount of money from the Spanish government and from the Roman Catholic Church? It is because for 333 years, with respect to the Spaniards, and for 455 years, vis-a-vis the Roman Catholic, we have been brainwashed into believing that the Bible is a very holy Bible, the holiest Bible in the world, and we must follow every word in the Bible because the Bible is pure, purified 7 times. The Bible is perfect. The Bible cannot go wrong. It's the Word of God. It was written directly through the inspiration of God. That is what we were made to believe for 455 years by the Catholic Church and for 333 years by Spain. And I am filing this damage because it has destroyed the Filipino people completely. Why it has destroyed us? Because we were made to believe in a wrong God, made in a wrong practice. In the Bible, it is all right to drink blood. It is all right to eat human beings, smash our children against the rock, boil our children, drink their blood and eat their body. It is all right to drink urine. It is all right to eat stools and excrements. All these things have been taught to us for 333 years by the Spaniards and 455 years by the church. It is not a joke. This is a very serious matter. If I tell you, your children, for instance, for 1 week, that it is all right to eat a human being, it's all right to drink the blood of a human being, it is all right to marry your sister or brother, it is all right to make concubines out of your daughters, it is all right to do the worst, kill people or chop a woman into pieces without any hearing. It is all right to kill millions without any hearing. Would you think that is acceptable to you if I teach your children that? And for 355 years, 333 years, that is what the Spaniards told us. For 455 years, that is what the church taught us. Up to now, we are being made to follow a satanic book, which to them is perfect, to them is pure, to them is the Word of God. 333 years under Spain, 455 years under the Catholic Church, using a satanic Bible. This has destroyed the Filipino culture completely. That is why we have this kind of country today. It's the most corrupt country in Asia. It's the most corrupt country in the world. And the reason for that is that we were made to believe in a wrong book, in a wrong Bible, in a satanic Bible, where corruption is all right. We're taking 10% of the income of the people, pursuant to Malachi 3:10, is all right. We're stealing from the people through Malachi 3:10 is all right. So for hundreds of years, 333 years under Spain, 455 years under the church, we have been taught to live like Satan, to behave like Satan, to act like Satan, to marry our sisters, to make concubines out of our daughters, to eat our children. Christ in Revelation 19:17 is said to be eating human beings. And if it's all right for Christ to eat human beings, so it is all right for our children to be eating human beings. It's all right for you to be eating human beings. We were taught, again to repeat, that the Bible is the holiest book in the universe and that we must follow every letter of that book because that book is perfect, that book is pure, purified 7 times. But is it perfect? To drink blood, to eat human beings, to smash your children against the rock, boil them and eat them, to make concubines out of your daughters, to make a wife out of your sister? Is that a holy book? It is a bad book, but that book has been a part of our genetics, of our system, to a point, again, to repeat, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, we have become so corrupt, so unprincipled, that if we were disunited yesterday, if it was easy for the Spaniards to come to the Philippines and rule us because of disunity, we are more than disunited today. Because today, our God has become money. Money is God, God is money. And our culture has been irreparably damaged by the teachings of the Bible. I want to change this. I want to become full-fledged President of the Republic of the Philippines with your help. Because I want to change this and start anew. Rehabilitate our people. And I need 350 trillion US dollars to rehabilitate our people, to reprogram our people, to teach them a new way of life, a new kind of religion. The religion that we have now is a religion that believes in death, that there is no way for man to live forever. I think we can change the outlook of our people, the attitudes of our people, or the attitude of our people can be changed. But we need time, we need money, and that money can be obtained by asking for damages from the Spanish government and from the Catholic Church, because they have all the money. They have more than $350 trillion. I think they have $1,000 trillion. They have all the money, which they took from us. If they are happy today, I mean, the royal families in Spain are happy today. If the Roman Catholic Church is progressive today, a part of those wealth possessed by Spain, possessed by the Pope, they come from the sweat, blood, and tears of the Filipino people. They robbed us of our fortunes, and they are rich now, they are powerful now, because for 333 years, for 455 years, they took our fortunes, they destroyed our morality, they bribed us. You can just imagine, every year, that black Nazarene in Quiapo is followed by millions, thinking that a black wooden Nazarene can save their souls, which is wrong. How can a wooden object save you? He cannot hear, he could not see. But that is the brainwashing of the Spaniards. We were made to worship idols. We were made to worship a wooden god. And that destroyed our culture, that destroyed our souls. We were trained to believe in wooden idols. We were not trained to believe in ourselves and fight for ourselves and reform ourselves and chart our destiny using our inner power, using our knowledge that we live in the consciousness of a living and loving God. So to repeat, I filed 350 trillion US dollars claim against this Pope. His name is Mario Jorge Bergoglio. His name is Mario Jorge Bergoglio, Pope Francis. I filed claim of 350 trillion US dollars, and also I filed a claim against this King Philip VI of Spain. This is another picture of Philip VI of Spain and his wife, very beautiful wife. He's very lucky. He became powerful, the Spaniards became powerful because of the blood, sweat, and tears and sufferings of the Filipino people for 333 years. And the Catholic Church became very, very powerful and very, very rich because of the blood, sweat, and tears and sufferings of the Filipino people, which they reduced as slaves. To repeat, for 333 years, slaves. And for 455 years, the slaves of the Roman Catholic Church. Can you understand? It's so, the crime is so heinous. The crime is so grave. The crime is so contemptible. The crime is so barbaric. The crime constitutes a crime against humanity. And we must demand for compensation. Our leaders in the past have forgotten about the fact that we have been abused. We have been reduced into slaves. We have been dehumanized. And that to be able to save ourselves, we must rise up, unite, and fight those who have abused us. This is another picture of what the Spaniards and the Catholic Church taught us. We have been going around Quiapo by the millions, following a wooden idol, thinking that this wooden idol could save us, instead of telling the people that they themselves have the power to change their destiny, have the power to change themselves. We are taught to believe in wooden idols. That is wrong. That is the reason why I established a new religion, the Bulwark of Athala, a religion based on total honesty in public service, a religion based on the belief that it is possible for man to live forever and ever in this part of the universe. It is possible for man to rise to the heights and perfection of the gods and rule the universe with God. That is the new religion that I am creating, and I hope that you will join me, that you will support me to chart our new destiny under a new system of belief, under a new religion. By the way, the last victim of the Spanish Inquisition through the Catholic Church was your Dr. Jose Rizal. Your Dr. Jose Rizal. He wrote harmless books, El Filibusterismo, and No Limit Tangere. And yet, he was shot for that. He was shot by the Spaniards through the Inquisition. That is how abusive the Spaniards were and the Spanish government were. That's why I'm holding them responsible, all of them at the same time. They should pay the Philippines solidarily and individually, meaning to say that one half of the compensation must come from Spain and one half must come from the church. And if one of them, either of them could not pay, at least one of them should pay all the 350 trillion US dollars that I'm demanding from them. My countrymen, I have told you the details of what happened. I have told you the irreparable damage that Spain and the Catholic Church has inflicted on the Filipino people. The evidence of the destruction of our culture are these churches standing all over the Philippines. They represent the temples of Satan, teaching us the wrong thing. These churches, the Bibles that you read, if you read it very carefully, is teaching you how to eat human beings, how to cook human beings, how to drink urine, drink blood, eat God, drink the blood of Christ, eat the body of Christ, make concubines out of your daughters, make wives out of your sisters. The Bible is more satanic than all the satanic Bible in the world. And I want you to help me destroy this Bible. Give me that power, the foolish power of the presidency, and I will destroy the satanic Bible in the Philippines. Not only that, once I become full-fledged president of the Philippines, I promise you, I'll do everything within my power to stop the forthcoming Third World War, the impending Third World War. And I know I can do it. That's why, again, I pray, I hope against hope, that you, my people, will help me. The Filipino masses, you who are listening to me, the public officials have been so corrupted. The senators, the congressmen, the priests, they have been so corrupted. You are the hope of the country. You, the Filipino masses. You, the common people of the Philippines. Even our young children have been corrupted. They all want to become employees of the Bureau of Customs because their God is money and money is God to them. Our culture has been totally devastated, totally destroyed, irreparably damaged. And you who is listening to me, who are listening to me tonight, especially the military, I call upon you to stand up and be united. Stand up and support me. Because I'm going to move forward and try to save the Philippines. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about how we can recover all the gold bars from Kentucky. I will try to plead with the United States of America to return all the gold bars to us so we can start a new life. To give us the about 22 trillion peso money of General Moncado so we can use that to give free education and free medicine to our people. We can use all the gold bars at Fort Knox, at Kentucky, to give our people free education and free medicine. We have all the resources to save this country, to give our people free education and free medicine. But all that we have to do is to stand up and have the courage to demand what belongs to us, no matter what happens. So once again, I call upon you who are listening to me tonight. Please understand that we have a big problem in the Philippines. We never had a president for the last 4 years. The president is only taking care of himself because he is dying. He is not taking care of the country. Hundreds, if not thousands of our people are being infected with coronavirus because no one is running this country effectively. I've been trying to run this country in my capacity as the jury president, but I could not effectively implement my policies without the fullest help of the armed forces of the Philippines. So again, I ask the armed forces of the Philippines to help me achieve full-fledged presidency so we can save the Philippines and restore democracy to our people. So we can start a new religion in the Philippines, a new life, a new kind of government based on the policy of total honesty in public service, where the poorest but the most competent Filipino can rise to any level of power without buying votes or resorting to fraud and violence. I want you to demand for the best for the Filipino people, to dream for the best for your children, because your children are not really your children. They come from you, and they come through you, but not from you. They belong to a world of tomorrow which you cannot reach even in your dreams. And we have to protect it. We have to ensure that they will have a good future, because they are our ambassadors and representatives to the world of the future, which again I say we cannot reach even in our dreams. I want you to fight with me. I want you to help me demand that Spain and the Catholic Church will pay us 350 trillion US dollars so we can rehabilitate ourselves, we can reform our government, we can start anew, and we can lead this country, and we can fight for a nuclear-free world. Do not accept inferiority. Do not accept the end of the Filipino people. Like William Faulkner, I say, I refuse to accept the end of the Filipino people. I refuse to accept the end of a race. I believe, like William Faulkner, that the Filipino people's destiny is not to die, but to rise to the heights of the God and rule the universe with God. I refuse to accept, in the language of William Faulkner, when the last ding-dong of doom shall have clung and faded, from the last worthless rock hanging tideless in the last undying evening, there will still be one more voice, alone in the wilderness that says, man shall not only live, man shall not only live, he will prevail. The Filipino people will not only live, the Filipino people will prevail. And so fight for our rights, fight for our claim for damages from those who have enslaved us for hundreds of years. Do not give up. Do not accept inferiority. Fight for excellence, no matter what. Fight for justice. For justice does not grow old. Let me emphasize this. Justice does not grow old. Injustice does not grow old. What was unjust many, many years ago is still unjust today. If you raped my mother 100 years ago, it is still rape today. And we must demand for compensation, because we have the right for compensation. We have the right to rehabilitate ourselves from dehumanization inflicted by foreign powers. Let me say, as a closing statement, fiat justitia ruat coelum. Let justice be done, do the heavens fall. I think I have said enough. Thank you, and good night.